Alright guys, TacticalRab here, and today I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And Donny Temp's career over the last few years has taken an unfortunate downward trajectory from being one of the best players in the game just a few years ago to suffering on the Paris Legion the last couple of years and still on that Legion roster going into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Is part of it because the team was trying to sabotage him back in the early Los Angeles Thieves days. Temp reckons that SlasheR was trying to get him dropped from the team by making some mistakes himself. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. It is October. That means Modern Warfare 2 is coming out in just about 3 weeks or so time. Funny really that Ravens tweet this out without having, as Alex says, even released their own roster, right? So we'll see in the coming days whether anyone who hasn't released their team decides to do it, because London, New York Subliners and Paris, Vegas as they are now, still haven't confirmed actually what their team is going to be, even though we believe we know. But until it's for sure guaranteed, things could still potentially change. This, just to mention, I thought was kind of cool here from the Boston Breach. If any of you guys wanted to get involved in this, they're doing a design contest to win a PS5, a Boston Breach scarf, a custom designed PC, or like at least one of these following prizes if you design your own mask. So if you guys are good in Photoshop or whatever, design like a version of the Breach mask and you could be in with a chance to win a pretty damn cool prize indeed. This is good news with regard to Modern Warfare 2. The Ghost of Hope believes that well, this game will be the first ever Infinity Ward game. Kind of impressive really, their affinity for competitive Call of Duty, let's just say Affinity Wars, because they've never done a ranked play system in their life until now, and they're probably not even doing it themselves. I'm pretty sure it's going to be down to Treyarch or whoever ran it. I was pretty sure Treyarch were doing it in the SledgeHammer game Vanguard, right? Treyarch eventually run it, so they might do the same thing here again. But it is pretty much going to be the first ever game to have ranked from an Infinity War perspective. Of course, like Infinite Warfare didn't really have anything like that. Even if you look back to, I mean, there was kind of like a ranked CDL like playlist mode or CWL modes or whatever, like there was in Modern Warfare 2019 with the CDL playlist, but like there was nothing actually ranked in the game, so that's certainly good news. Now, speaking of that real quick, there's been a couple of leaks that have been arriving over the last day or so from, I'm not exactly sure people are getting this from, like maybe they were able to kind of look into the game files somehow, but apparently Control is in Modern Warfare 2 and potentially is playable as well. You can see it up in the top left hand side. So if Control is in the game and is arriving, then there might be a reasonable chance Control is indeed going to be a third mode as opposed to Capture the Flag. Like I don't mind Control. I think it's a solid third game mode. I actually think it's a really good medium between the two of Hardpoint and Search and Destroy, like kind of in the middle in terms of pacing. There have been some questions though, how will Control play with no dead silence, because we haven't really seen that in Call of Duty before, and you know, it could be an absolute disaster. But Capture the Flag arguably would be even worse. I think that would play incredibly campy, Capture the Flag, if there was no dead silence, as we believe there won't be. So at least Control, you're forced to be aggressive regardless, and I think it's a safer pick as the third mode than Capture the Flag, especially given the fact that squad spawns probably don't work for CTF. But look, we'll see how it goes. Control may be in the game. And also just this to mention, apparently there's the combat record in this game, which you know, it's good to actually see it. Of course, this might not be true at all, but apparently ranked play is actually here in your combat record, which is something we haven't seen for a very long time. It's kind of funny really, this was a staple feature back in the day. I remember back in Call of Duty Black Ops 1, the features you got in your combat record were absurd. You would be able to see so much data and analytics, and that was a game that came out in what, 2010? You don't get anywhere near the same ability to actually see what you've done and what your stats are and everything, like how many kills you've got with all the certain like attachments on and all this type of stuff you used to be able to see back in the day. But apparently a ranked play combat record is a thing. I used to be able to see other people's combat records, and you know, nowadays who knows whether that'll be the case in this game, but still some positive things to mention regardless. Now let's talk about some more recent CODs real quick, as Saint says here, any COD to be played. SlasheR wants to hop into some 8s. He's obviously raring to go for the new season with Atlanta FaZe. Ake says though, Modern Warfare Remastered, right? A great game, really fun to play in the early part of, what was it, I guess 2016? MWR probably came out now. Wow, that seems like a long time ago. And as SlasheR says, yo, I'm down for some MWR. They got it on PC, reckons Parasite, but maybe it's time to pull the PS4 out. And even SlasheR actually brings up this clip, or well, this is one of the clips from SlasheR back in 2019. I guess they're playing some sort of chell, 1 versus 4, round 11. SlasheR manages to clutch up the 1v4 against Nameless's team to manage to take them down. Some questionable plays in the last couple of seconds here against Saints and Co. to end up winning this one out. Saints gets naded, and then that's GG. SlasheR Thanos, he actually called himself here, gets the job done. So like, I mean, yeah, Modern Warfare Remastered, good fun. But SlasheR, of course, knows, well, he believes at least he's a great Search and Destroy player. That's what he thinks he's going to be able to bring successfully to this FaZe team going forwards. But certainly he's made some questionable Search and Destroy decisions over the last couple of years. One of which kind of famously when he was teaming with Donovan Templar back in the Black Ops Cold War days on Los Angeles Thieves. Of course, Temp Temp last season had a 90 overall rating on the Paris Legion. Great player for that team last year. Of course, didn't have the results. The record, not particularly solid. But yeah, Temp's career, of course, has been an interesting trajectory. He was one of the hot prospects for quite a long period of time, especially back in Advanced Warfare. Made the return when he was old enough to play back in World War II. Since then, had some great teams, had some not so great teams, and really LA Thieves, before the start of Cold War, was a big chance for him with great players on his roster to kind of prove himself that he's still at that high level of Call of Duty. And if that LA Thieves team didn't go wrong, then he probably would be on a better team as it stands than Vegas Legion going into the new season. Now, Kenny was on stream with Temp a couple of days ago, reliving some of these moments in that Cold War season, and one of the games they brought up was the first game, I believe, that Insight ever played for Toronto Ultra. It was a Game 5, round 10 up against Los Angeles Thieves, and in the final round, Insight having already got 15 or 16 kills, I think he ended up with 18 kills in this match, which I believe at the time broke the record for the Search and Destroy kills in one particular map in the first ever series that Insight played. But one of these kills in the final round was against SlasheR in very questionable circumstances, where SlasheR, very rarely making mistakes of course, seems to just run in and die, even though Temp gives him seemingly the perfect call out.
Trapped inside of a building, I said, me and TJ call him out. Also goes, bro, what? You didn't call him out good enough or some shit. I'm like, bro, are you dumb? Are you dumb? How in the hell do you not know where he is, bro?
I had to have been dead. I'm dead.
Stage 2. Yes, you were dead.
Okay, alright. Lord, I'm dead.
How in the God's green earth do you not know where the he is? Like, look.
Yeah, hold on, let me see. Look
TJ walk in.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, the red hair definitely was troll, but look, I get TJ throw his shoulder, he hit him with a bullet. Right? I hit him again. I did 6 days. Look at Austin. Bro, there ain't no, and he tried to blame me. He tried to blame our call out. Are you Austin, are you dead?
18-6 for Insight. And how about your first series?
I said, bro, I know I'm dead. Bro. Don't want me to win. His third opportunity. I won the gunfight. I instantly hit the vape, motherfucker. I was vaping, bro.
This is it.
I said, motherfucker.
Look at Dog Cam, bro. Look at Dog.
I said, motherfucker is trying to get me out of here, bro. Bro, that's literally what I'm thinking in the match. I'm literally hitting that. I'm like, bro, these motherfuckers are trying to get me.
Yo.
So I'm sure a lot of you guys will remember this moment in this clip because it was a pretty big series, right? Insight's debut, like Los Angeles Thieves were still at that point kind of struggling, needing to get this series one on the boards, and Insight was just getting gifted kills left, right, and center. Temp gets the info, SlasheR just runs in and dies for some reason, and then Temp, thankfully for Los Angeles Thieves, clutches up the 1 versus 1 anyway, and takes the series win for them. And as he said, he just hit the vape straight away after that because of like, what are these guys doing? And as he effectively implied there, like, you know, were they trying to sabotage him, right? Because Los Angeles Thieves, obviously, they were not as good as they could have been at the start of that season. Their team on paper looked pretty nice. TJ, Kenny, SlasheR, and Temp, that was the team of 4 going into Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, right? And it seemed like a great team on paper. The roles kind of made sense. It should have worked out, you would think, in theory. But yes, things started to progress. It was becoming clear that this team wasn't actually particularly good. TJ had that great moment, I think it was Moscow Search and Destroy or whatever, when he went like 12-0 or something. But apart from that, they really didn't have too many great moments. And almost losing to a team with Insight in for the very first series he played with the roster also wasn't particularly good. And this was an interesting time in Call of Duty in general, right? Because this was, well, one of the other maps of that series. I think in the Game 2 Search and Destroy here on Raid, it was Insight who pulled out this kind of spot within the trees here, and everyone was like, yeah, damn, this Insight guy is kind of interesting. They bring him into the roster because everyone at the time was, of course, no Zinni and no Winnie, right? And then firstly, Insight comes in and drops like 18 Game 5, and everyone was like, okay, I'm going to second. Maybe Insight to this team is actually going to be a good idea. And of course, they went on to win the Stage 2 Major anyway and become a great team for the next season or so. And of course, SlasheR and Temp do indeed go way back. They had this nice little 2v6 actually right to the early part of last season before they dropped methods for Insight Toronto. And yeah, SlasheR and Temp were having a good time here. So these guys go way back to even the Advanced Warfare days, then into the World War II days. But look, who knows whether, like, I think SlasheR obviously just made a mistake, right? I imagine that's the case. But I wonder whether Temp does think, and maybe he's looking back on this and thinking, damn, like if that didn't happen, if SlasheR wasn't trying to throw the map or whatever, and they weren't already deciding at that point that they were going to get rid of me and like trying to effectively make a mistake to then blame it on Temp, because that's what Temp said. He was like, SlasheR tried to blame it on him, and he was like, well, it wasn't my fault. Like, you just trying to say this to try and get rid of me effectively. And it seems highly doubtful that would actually be the case, but it is an interesting proposition that, you know, a team that could be potentially very dysfunctional is trying to sabotage their own members to say, okay, yeah, Temp made a mistake there, so, you know, JCap, drop him from the team or whatever. Turns out not long after that series concluded, that is exactly what happened, right? That series was probably in like March or so, or like at least in February, probably early March, and then just in April, not too long after, Temp does get released from the team. He got benched from the roster initially, Venom came in, and then Temp gets released entirely, right? So it is interesting how that one works out, and I'm sure Temp might be looking at this thinking, damn, did SlasheR probably want me gone? Like, was he trying to make changes? Seems doubtful, but honestly, who knows? And this was a key moment, of course, for Temp's career, because after getting this opportunity on LA Thieves, like, well, another big opportunity after having a couple of difficult seasons, he was back on a big team, then gets released from LA Thieves, and then after that, really, the opportunities have dried up for him, and since then, of course, he's ended up on the Paris Legion for the last couple of seasons. But as you guys can see here, if you're not familiar with Temp's career, he played with SlasheR back in the Advanced Warfare days on Denial, then again in the early part of World War II on Envy. That didn't work out so well either, and it's kind of interesting because Temp and Huke have both been players that SlasheR have played with quite a fair bit over SlasheR's career, but it's very rarely actually worked out in their favor. But even then, right, I mean, Advanced Warfare was arguably Temp's maybe best year in terms of results. Then Black Ops 4, they came second at Fort Worth on Spice. That was a team that arguably should have done better at the end of that season, but failed kind of to deliver. And then since then, right, Modern Warfare was on the New York team. Yes, they did win that kind of home series, but then after that New York team was pretty decent, but nothing spectacular. Then he got the great chance on LA Thieves, you would have thought, but then got benched during stage 2 and relatively quickly was traded out to the Paris Legion for tragic results for the end of that season, and then of course continued tragic results during the entirety of Vanguard, right? So it's difficult to see really for Temp, because a player that I think a lot of people think, well, he has a huge amount of potential. I did wonder whether Temp this season would get an offer from a Boston or something as potentially their flex player. I thought that was maybe on the cards, but it turns out Paris have doubled down, given him the money he wanted or whatever, if they have actually decided to open their wallet a little bit more this season, Vegas, because they may have done. It's far from guaranteed, but there are some rumors they are spending a little bit more this season, and in fairness, they have formed a somewhat better team. I think Prolute, TJ, Clayster alongside Temp, it's at least a solid team theoretically. Now, in terms of the SMG line, it's very unconvincing from my perspective how good these guys are actually going to be, but it's kind of a veteran team to some extent, right? I'm sure Temp's probably kind of happy teaming with guys that have actually been around a few years in general, and even Prolute, right, at least he's got a couple of months of CDL experience with OpTic last season, and Temp doesn't have to worry so much about trying to, you know, nurture and bring up these younger guys that are in their first season in the CDL. So definitely an interesting roster. But what do you guys think about this, right? Was that one of the key moments with SlasheR making the mistake and saying, well, Temp, it was your fault or whatever? I'm sure afterwards SlasheR probably realized, okay, yeah, fair enough, it was my fault or whatever. But like, was that a key moment? Because I think a lot of people would look at Temp's career and say, like, there might be a lot of wasted potential here, because Temp, very talented player, delivered, like, at least in terms of numbers and stuff on many occasions, but just isn't getting the results likely to kind of support that, right? So it's never really won a LAN event in his entire career, which is also still quite the statement. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. I also believe tonight there's a FaZe Memorial tournament going on from CMG. I believe Capstone was trying to find a team actually right here, and maybe Methods, maybe, I don't exactly know what the teams are going into this tonight, but I think the Drazah has been trying to find a team. Capstone wanted a team as well that maybe Zin is playing with, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, definitely intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit a like button, tells the YouTube gods it's a good video, and I'd like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.